that they're losing money left and right when giving hundreds of millions of dollars to their CEOs. It is disgusting.
There's a level of expectation that they have that is just not realistic. And they are adding to a set of challenges that this business is already facing.
Yes, the strike has been going on for a while now, been months from the actors and writers. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of sides. There's, you have two sides of this going on back and forth. But there's one thing that I want to discuss that I haven't seen anyone talk about. And that's that I wonder if in the contracts, when they're doing these contracts or making these deals, are they going to implement something that has to deal with like whether the act? Because look, at the end of the day, I think the actors and the writers, since social media is so big and everybody has it, I feel like no one's discussing about, hey, man, shouldn't this be in your contract if you say something or do something while we're promoting or marketing this movie? Shouldn't you be fined or suspended and things like that that I don't see anybody talking about? Because single-handedly, you could sit here and say Rachel has destroyed Snow White. I mean, she has made it so one-sided that you have alienated half the audience. That's one thing I wonder if the strike will put in their contract, because like in sports, sports, that's something that's in their contracts. And it's crazy, you didn't have to worry about this 10 years ago for Hollywood actors, but I would think now you need to consider it, considering, if this basketball player says something or retweets something against a Jewish community, he gets in trouble for it because you are a voice and a lot of people hear it. And it affects your company, it affects your brand, it affects everything. So I'm wondering, I don't know if Dee agrees with me here on this one. By the way, I'm Tony, that's Danny. I don't know if he agrees with me here, but that is something that I feel like, man, no one's talking about it. Is that going to be in their contracts, in their deals?
Right. So movie companies cannot tell people what to say and not say when it comes to other topics. Now, when it comes to their product or service, I'm sure in the contract they can put verbiage where they say, hey, look, you can't discredit or talk bad about the characters or the story. I'm sure they can do that to a point. But what Rachel did was, you can't put it any other way than just not a wise decision. It was very stupid, the things that she said, like as far as the character and the original. What people don't understand is that Snow White is what propelled Walt Disney to fame. It's what made him mainstream, and then the rest is history. So what she said was not obviously good for the marketing of the movie. But
right.
At the end of the day, you can't silence people. But I don't agree at all what she said, obviously.
Well, it's not silencing people. I'm just saying, like, you can't have Ezra Miller running around doing all that crazy stuff. He affected the movie. His actions affected the movie. He's the star of the film.
Well, I also
see what I'm saying.
I also think that the reason why I tell people my two favorite decades of movies was the 1990s and the 2000s, from 2000 to 2010, 1990 to 2000, right? Okay. Those were the times when we had movie stars. You know what I mean? That's when we had Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington, Daniel Day-Lewis, Leonardo DiCaprio, Meryl Streep, Julia Roberts, Tom Cruise, right? And what I loved was that I never really heard about them talking about social issues or political issues. And to be honest, now that we've gone through what we've gone through with the actors of today, the ones that are more prominent today, I hope we go back to that. I hope we go back to the days where they just acted and they were in movies and we revered them and we were like, wow, like
look up to them.
Look up to them. Yeah. Like, who's the movie star today that you look at and go, man, what an up and coming talent this guy or girl is? There's none. There's none. Who? Where is it? They should. But they're not. They're too worried about General, and they're too worried about Ahsoka. I get in the cartoon that she has. I know in the Rebels that she has like that serious look or whatever. But it's just like Rosario Dawson. I'm kind of like, okay. She's an okay actress, but I feel like that should be played by some young, a younger, one of these young actresses that
more acrobatic.
Yeah, more acrobatic, but back, not,
I don't know.
I think it should be played by like a young. But where is it? Like, where's the Julia Roberts of today? Where is the Meryl Streep? Where's the even I remember like a Reese Witherspoon was blowing up, or what's her name, Rachel McAdams. Like, where are those people? They don't even exist anymore. Natalie Portman. Like, I don't know. Rosario Dawson. That's the best you could do, Disney, huh? The biggest media company one of the biggest media, and they get Rosario Dawson. That's snooze fest, dude.
So you don't think that? I mean, now that you said that, right? Like the 90s and 2000s. I agree. But now social media is so big, everybody has it. And these people, when I say these people, I mean the actors in Hollywood or the writers, will go on the social media platform and, well, they'll tweet things and write things and say things that are just that you don't agree with, or you don't side with, or they might insult you, and they get political. They're very political. They're very openly political. I mean, some of them have come out and said, if you vote for the Republican side, you're basically idiots. And so you basically just told, half the country, hey, we don't like you. And now if you think half the country will say, sure, let's go support your movie. Let's go in there and give that movie some money. Like, it's not going to happen, man. And that's why I think, like, everyone's talking about the strike of the numbers on streaming. Man, what about the producer saying, hey, how about you guys need to shut up a little bit when we're making movies and marketing and producing it? Because you kind of if you single-handedly can ruin a movie. We're watching it happen with Rachel.
If I was a producer nowadays, that's why independent movies are tearing it up. They're tearing it up. The Talk to Me movie, the horror one, did great. I know I'm missing a bunch this year, but they've done really good at the box office because, excuse me, right? If I was what I was going to say is this: if I was a producer today, I'd look at my actors and directors and all the people and say, listen, if you say anything political, we can't work together.
That's it.
Because we're here to make a movie. We're here to tell a story. We're here to make art, to entertain. We're not here to be political messengers. We're not. Some of the best, greatest movies of all time that are in my top 10, 7, No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood. They have incredible themes, but they don't sit there and go, if you're a man, you're bad. If you're, if you're a white guy, you're just the worst of the worst. If you're, they don't do that. They never do that. Even some of the movies that have to do with, the slavery era or the Nazi era, right? They don't get into that stuff. They just they tell you the story, and then you yourself will, okay, yeah, well, the German SS were horrific people. The slave owners of the South in the 1800s were horrific people. Of course, yes. But they need to get back to that. You need to get back to telling stories and letting actors act and writers write and not telling them, well, you better put this social issue in there 3 or 4 times. And, it's just stuff like that. And then there's I'm going to give you a quick example and we'll move on. Like, take a look at someone like Will Smith, right? He said no to Quentin Tarantino in The Django Unchained. He was supposed to be in Jamie Foxx's role, right? Great movie. So years later, he makes Emancipation, because he wants to make it his way, and he wants to show, how this guy ran. He made it an action movie. He did it his way, and the movie sucked. Didn't get any noise, and it wasn't because of the slap. It was because the movie sucked. So this is, again, actors should act, directors should direct. There's very few that can make the transition to both, like a Ben Affleck, but either way, yeah, man, we need to get back to the 90s and the early 2000s, 100%.
Well, I mean, this strike, you think continues going on to next year? At this rate, I think it does.
Listen, at the end of the day, 2 things can be right and 2 things can be wrong at the same time. I think the writers, some of their demands that I've heard, I'm not very well versed on the strike, but some of the demands that I've heard from the writers is absolutely ludicrous. I do agree, especially if you're a writer for She-Hulk, like that guy or whatever, or Obi-Wan, or one of these shows that it was like a 5th grader wrote the show. But the ultimate thing that I think the writers and the actors want from the streaming services, which is something that I would want as well, is transparency in the numbers. They want to see, hey, like a Ben Affleck, he said he made Triple Frontier with Charlie Hunnam and I think Pedro Pascal for Netflix, and he goes, I don't even know what the movie did. He goes, I was paid. I don't know if it did well. I don't know if it did bad. I don't know if they got good numbers, bad numbers. So, and he's a movie star. He's the biggest of the biggest. So imagine if you're a writer or if you're just, just a director nobody knows. I think that the pay should go in accordance with the amount of revenue that is generated for Netflix or Disney or whoever. Because that's and one more thing, these streaming services are very diverse, but they're not diverse when it comes to pay. Remember that, okay? Andy Guerrero said that. The streaming services, they're not diverse. They're diverse, but they're not diverse when it comes to paying you. Let's just remember that, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
No. I like I said, me personally, I mean, these actors and writers for the last couple of years haven't been doing great work to me personally. I mean, from the movies and shows that have come out, I haven't been happy with them. So if you ask me which side I'm on the I don't care side. Yeah, and that's the difference.
I think it's both. I think it's the streaming services that they're not being fair with their pay because they're not, right? They're not really showing the numbers. But at the same time, right, like how can Disney pay the writers of She-Hulk more? The show was terrible.
Or Willow. Willow got off the streaming service already.
You know how many guys probably, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last 18 months, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Disney Plus has lost 20 million subscribers.
Yeah. But it goes back to the strike, right? Like, that's why I'm saying these people are making crazy, well, like you said, they're making absurd demands. It's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna run to pay you when we're losing bleeding subscribers all over the place. Someone's watching our shows. Willow got off after 6 months, cost over $100 million to make. They took it off the streaming service, so they don't have to pay revenue. Think about that. Like, come on, man. I'm on the side of I don't care. These people, I mean, these actors and writers, like I said, I would put things in the contract where it's like, that's why it goes back to that. Like, shouldn't they be held reliable or accountable for the actions and things that they do, pertaining to the show or the movie? I mean, you have guys out there like even Mark Hamill, who's famously known for Star Wars, saying crazy things online. Like, you just can't have that. I'm sorry, man. You just can't have that. You can't do that. I'm sorry. You just can't do that.
And
you might not bother me, Hon. I'm sorry. You might not bother me. I'll still watch it. But I don't speak for, 300 million people. So you can't just do that. You got to do, you play general audience. You're here for everybody. That's it.
And one thing I want to tell people out there, let me tell you something. When it comes, and I love going to DC, I've gone almost every year the last few years. Let me tell you something. When you're there, you get one very distinct feeling, and that's that you don't know what's going on. You just don't. You can pretend you do, but you don't. So at the end of the day, I think that actors should act. You can have your political views. Go on Twitter. You want to be
support your party, whatever.
Go do that. But when it goes to work, you should, and this goes all the way to the top of the streaming services, to the executives, to the boards. You can have your political views. I have my theory. I'm not going to get into it now, but I have my theory as to why I think Netflix, Disney, and all these people want to be so diverse, and they want to have good DEI and ESG scores. Let's just say that, right? But BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. But besides that, so at the end of the day, I just think that movies and art should be left alone, and I hope that it reverts back to that. So we'll see.
Yeah, me too.
All right, guys. Well, that's all for today's topic when it comes to the strike. I personally, to give you my final thoughts, I don't know if it's going to resolve itself. It's a lot of big things they're talking about: AI, pay, transparency. And the main one for me would be transparency, but I don't know. I don't think it ends by the end of this year. So we'll see.
No, I don't think so either. I think, I mean, if I was Netflix, I wouldn't even care. I'll be like, all right, I'm going to keep getting independent stuff from international stuff and bringing it on in, and they're booming. HBO Max reported that they made a lot of money not paying all these people. So yeah, they're not in a rush to agree to them. They don't care. These people, they don't care.
All right.
Things are not doing well. Like if this was 10 years ago when you had movies blowing up everywhere, left and right, yeah, you got to hurry up and take care of these people. But everything's failing. I mean, this year has been terrible. We had 2 movies. Come on, 2-3 movies that did really well.
And Barbie made $1 billion because it got the social media zeitgeist.
Barbie, Hope, and Oppenheimer did well.
Yeah, people
had a few movies. Spider-Man, Across.
Yeah, people were just putting a picture up of Barbie. Oh, look at me, I'm in my pink in the theater. That's why the movie made a lot of money. The movie was a complete propaganda piece, in my opinion. All right, guys, like, subscribe. We're out of here.
Late.